Well, listen, this is Jeremy Widerman on the line with me here. Maybe a three-time guest on Do You Know Jack? How you doing, man?
Wow, doing great, man. Doing great. It's real nice to be back on the road and playing these new songs for our Canadian fans. We haven't been doing Canada, and it's like 2.5 years now since we've been out. So it's a bit of a relief to get going out here.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I think this is the Down and Dirty Club Tour you guys are on right now, if I'm looking at the dates correctly.
Yeah, man, we wanted to do something that was like a little bit more club show bar oriented instead of going into the big venues like we've done in the past. And with the way things are going with the kind of the live scene, it was kind of a good move because I think if we would have done the bigger rooms, we might not have gotten the sellouts like we used to get, just because of the rock radio's been taking a bit of a hit, and getting people out to live shows in general is a little bit tougher than it used to be.
Yeah, is this your first Canadian headlining tour though?
No, would be our third. We've done one for every record.
Right, right. I just mentioned that because I thought I read somewhere that you guys either don't often or never have headline Canada, but maybe it was just like you haven't often, considering the fact that you just mentioned it was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, we did one for Curiosity, we did one for Spitting Heavy, and now we're doing one for True Rockers. And, I guess the feeling is that we just spent a lot of time lately in Europe and the UK trying to get those markets going, and it's worked really well. And we've had a lot of growth over there, a lot of encouraging growth that's kind of showed us that we're going to have like a lot of other markets to be able to play on a regular basis, which is what we're doing for the rest of the year.
Yeah, now I would imagine the strategy on this tour is going to be a little different considering the fact that maybe you guys are used to sort of being the opener, right? I mean, I think you just came off tour with Blackstone Cherry in Europe. So, I mean, how do you change that strategy when you're going to, play the little clubs in the headlining position?
That's just a longer set. We make sure that we really get in all of the songs that people have come to expect, like all the singles that we've had over all the records. And then, putting forward our best foot with the new record and putting the songs off of this record that have either been on radio or that we feel are the strongest off the album for the live show scenario. So it's really nice to kind of, get that going. And the fans are real appreciative of the fact that, we're finally back because it has been so long, and they want to hear all the old stuff and the new stuff.
Yeah, and I reckon the first 2 dates or 3 dates of this tour, I would imagine it's been a pretty packed affair, right? I haven't checked the.
Yeah. Last night was sold out, and it was just an absolute ripper. Really encouraging too. Like really nice to be in our element, doing our headline stuff instead of really trying to open the show up like you said with Blackstone Cherry. It's always fun and always good, but obviously a very different vibe when everybody knows all the words and they've already seen you a couple times before and they know what to expect and they're real excited about it.
Well, now, just here in Prince Albert, I have been, the odd time listening to our rock radio station, and, the track Evolution in particular really seems to be ripping it up. One thing that I've noticed is, am I right in saying that, the track Evolution, ironically, or maybe literally shows an evolution in the band's songwriting, right? I mean, you seem to be gearing your songs more to top 40 radio these days.
I think maybe just that one in particular. There's maybe 2 songs on the record that are kind of in that vein. It was kind of a conscious decision that we made to kind of like get outside of our comfort zone a little bit. Those were kind of songs that we did at the end, where we ventured off with a new producer and really kind of tried to change up the style a little bit and make a little more diversity on the record, which is something that we haven't had in the past as much. But at the end of the day, the other 80% of the album is, I feel like could fit on any of our previous records. So it's kind of a thing where songs like that and taking a stab at, maybe at some American rock radio, and doing some things that we, wanted to try and we're excited about trying. But at the same time, keep sticking to what's familiar and what people come to expect from us so that we don't, scare people, deviate too far from, where we began.
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I guess my concern is, you remember those bands in the 90s like Jesus Jones and who else, Sugar Ray, where they had like massive top 40 radio appeal, but then their whole rest of their record didn't sound like the actual song, you know, like is that a concern for you guys writing tracks like Evolution, that maybe some of your new fans that haven't heard you will listen to the rest of the record and there'll be such a marked difference?
Yeah, I don't really feel like that's the case.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, through all the promo and interviews and everything I've done leading up to now, I've heard literally everything. I've heard that they thought it's the heaviest record yet, that the radio singles Evolution and Young City Hearts sound just like the rest of the record. I've heard that they're a huge departure. I've heard that they're people's favorite songs. I've heard that people hate them. It's just like, to me, at the end of the day, especially in the live setting, when you hear all three records with those songs combined all together, it makes a lot of sense. And then, there's people that'll disagree, and there's people that are in between, and it's like, it's not even my place to have an opinion about it. Like we just can't be scared about it. It can't be a concern that we're like going to be worried that this song's not going to fit with that song. We try and make a varied and diverse album while still trying to make it uniform, but we can't just sit there and dwell on it to the point where we're going to be concerned what other people think about it.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the minute as a band you guys start to second guess yourselves is maybe the minute that something's wrong, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
and quite frankly, I love the song Evolution every time it comes on. My daughter in particular really likes it. I mean, John going up into his upper register is maybe the hook that you guys needed to really transcend. Although I would say that there's a pretty like album defining track on each one of your three records, going right back to even the EPs.
Yeah, definitely. And with Sitting Heavy, we had songs like Things Get Better, and there's others. There's different tracks on that album too that you could argue don't seem like they're fitting with the rest until you listen to the album as a whole. So.
Yeah, but I mean, the album is called True Rockers, and I know there's a bit of a story about Dee Snider getting in on this thing, right? I mean, he was kind of a fan of the band for a while. Like, you guys kind of landed on his radar a while back.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it kind of came to fruition. Is that he's been a huge supporter, and he's been one of the most vocal kind of legendary status kind of guys waving the flag. And when we had the idea for that part in True Rocker, we knew that he would just be the perfect person to bring in for it. And that's something that we were always trying to make sure that we do, is, come up with an idea for a part and then find the person to fit, as opposed to just trying to shoehorn, Dee Snider or when it was Thornley from Big Wreck, it was never thinking of the person first. It was thinking of the part first and then finding the perfect person for the job. And that always yields the best results. Yeah,
and that's Dee's voice, obviously, just for the people maybe that haven't heard. I mean, that's Dee's voice on the title track.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to miss, and I think he's so distinct that even if you don't know that he's on the song, when he comes in, you would very obviously be like, who the hell is that? And you want to find out, because it's so obviously not someone in the band, and kind of a moment in the song to kind of stand out above the rest.
Yeah, well, and who better to deliver such a almost a religious monologue than the man who wrote "I Wanna Rock."
Exactly.
What was the band's reaction when you first heard his? I guess, for lack of a better word, it's a bit of a it's almost a sermon / rant. I mean, when you guys first heard it, what was the band's reaction in general?
Oh, we knew it was perfect. We knew it was going to be perfect. It was a very, like, as a matter of fact kind of thing. It was like, Marv sent him the basic outline of what he thought he could say, but, we also wanted him to feel creative and be able to do his own thing. And it was just, when we thought of him for the job, we just knew that there was no way it wouldn't turn out perfect. And of course it did. And when we heard it, we were just like, yep, that's what we thought. And it was done in, a matter of a couple of days from, sending him the idea to him sending it back and it being done.
Yeah, well, and I would imagine maybe you guys probably, now that you've collaborated once, you've probably been bitten by the bug, so to speak. You probably want to work with them even maybe in a closer capacity in the future.
Yeah, who knows? Like I said, it's not something that we ever kind of think about in advance very much. We tend to think about the songs first, and if we see a moment that needs help, or could have a great positive upswing from including somebody outside the band, then that's when we begin to start looking for the right, fit the right shoe on the right foot.
For sure.
Before that, we're not really, we're not sitting there going, we need to work with Jerry Cantrell and how can we make that happen? We're looking at the song as what would serve the song in the best way.
Yeah. Well, now it's interesting that you would mention Jerry, because I mean, again, like Alice in Chains is a band that you guys have I guess, opened for in the past. I mean, I would imagine now, just having that ringside seat for guys like Slash and Nickelback and Deep Purple, that you've probably learned from the masters, as it were. I mean, what are some of the things that you guys have learned these last 6 or 7 years that you've been out there with bands like that?
It's really hard to quantify or describe, because you're going to do your music the way you do it for the most part, and you're not going to be able to take too much from them stylistically when you've already got your sound. And there's the amount that we got off Deep Purple happened 10 years ago, when we were 10, 20, 30 years ago, when we were formative and we were coming up with the ideas for the band. A lot of what you take from bands like that is just the professionalism and the friendly nature of their interactions with, whether it's us or people at the venue, or just their general professionalism of showing up on time, or not partying too much, or just generally putting on an excellent show every night. It's kind of an inspirational influence of like just seeing guys operate at that high caliber level time after time. But it's also something that we really learned early on too, and I feel like it feels more like being peers with somebody now than it felt like being in awe of someone on a different level, which is what kind of happened 6-7 years ago when we started doing this.
Yeah.
Whereas now when we tour with these bands, it really just kind of feels like going to work with them, and I think they get the feeling that we're in that same at least league as them, as far as being professional and putting on a great show every night and showing up on time and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's been amazing to watch you guys and for lack of a better word, your meteoric rise. I mean, geez, I remember we first chatted. You guys were about to go on tour with Slash, and you hadn't even released Furiosity now, and I mean, you can't really quantify things in social media likes, but I think at the time maybe you guys had about 2,500, and now that I look, you've got 85,000, and I think shit. I mean, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, I really wish that actually meant something. With the way that Facebook kind of operates now, it's a complete fucking farce. As far as like, when we had those 2,500 fans on Facebook, back when Facebook was kind of grassroots like that, you could access those 25 people with one post, and you could be almost certain that the majority of them would see it. Now we're being sold our fan base back to us. We've garnered this 85,000 or 88,000 follower list on Facebook, and we can't even access them without paying to promote our own posts. And it's really infuriating, because it actually was a lot of work to do that and to get that following. But it's almost like it's such a fake number, because if we make a post on Facebook, maybe only 8,000 and 10,000 of them will even have the potential to see it. And to get into the newsfeed of our entire fan base on Facebook, it's like we have to pay $100, $200 just on one post for them to see it. So I don't really take those numbers seriously anymore, and I don't really go on Facebook to promote the band as much as I used to. It's usually used by the labels now, because they're the ones with the marketing budgets that can actually utilize the people that we recruit over the years to see those posts. Based on when an album comes out, the label's willing to put money into it. But it used to be a really fun place to just post funny quotes or funny ideas, or you take a funny tour picture and be sure that we'd see it. But yeah, it's not like that anymore, and it's fucking pissed off, to be honest with you.
I'm definitely not going to argue with that. Just being a person that I've tried to cultivate my own little miniature Facebook following, and I never know who's actually checking out what I do. I started to just post useless shit in hopes that maybe people will like pay attention and I'll get back into the algorithm again. And I've noticed a lot of radio station and radio show pages have started to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mandate at Chorus. They literally had a board meeting and were like, just repost memes and viral videos, and that's what we're gonna do. And it's just kind of a sign of things to come, which is that the radio stations aren't what they used to be, which was a place to discover new music. It's literally just an echo chamber of the latest trend or latest joke or funny video, as a means to try and bolster the algorithm and shock and either offend or shock people into engaging with the post so that they could possibly see the radio stations, whatever it is they're trying to push. So yeah, it's basically gone completely into the shitter now, and I really do feel like Facebook is borderline useless for independent bands now to use as a platform to kind of share either whether it's tour dates or new information or new albums or merchandise. If you don't have the budget to promote the post, and even then you may not get the return that you're hoping for with the promoted post. So it could have been a really powerful platform that's been just completely polluted by everything else that happens with a great idea or a platform, which is commercials, marketing, and profit.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, is there any medium that you guys could possibly make use of then? Because, my experience with Twitter is it's just a whole bunch of people saying, hey, band, look at me, retweet me, do this, do that.
Yeah, but I don't bother with Twitter very much. I use it for like comedy and hockey and stuff like that. Instagram doesn't feel as bad. We get a lot of engagement on there. It's a lot more boiled down to we post pictures of merch and then people buy them. We post tour dates and people react and buy tickets. It's a little bit more direct. It feels like more people that are interested in the band get to see the posts, and because it's so distilled down to the purest form, I think we get more profile visits from people who are actually like, I wonder what Monster Truck's up to. Whereas I think Facebook, you're getting just an onslaught of political opinions and fake news to the point where you're not using it as a way to kind of be inspired about any kind of art, whether it's music or otherwise. So yeah, Instagram's not too bad. And at the end of the day, if you care enough about a band, you're gonna find your favorite method of interacting, which is, for a lot of people, it's YouTube, and sometimes you just go to the band's website and find the tour dates there, which is the tried and tested method of finding a jump off spot to either go to your favorite social media network or to find out things directly and go right to the ticketing link.
Have you been paying attention to the Grammys at all tonight, Jeremy?
The other guys have. I've been hearing rumblings. We heard High on Fire one, which is kind of feels like a win for the good guys. But at the end of the day, my main point, I think, to the guys was like, who cares about the Grammys? Because it really doesn't indicate very much of anything. It's kind of in a lot of ways kind of similar to the Junos, where the kind of political maneuvering that goes on in the background to make the final decision on who's going to come out on top is set up in such a way that it's hard to feel like it's like it's fair. I don't know if fair is not really the right word, but yeah, it doesn't feel like the best band wins. Even when we won our Juno, we really kind of didn't deserve it. Walk Off the Earth was in the category, and they just had a monumental year of having basically the most watched YouTube video on the planet.
Yeah.
And the title of the category is Breakthrough Group of the Year, and you should be able to pretty handily argue that a band in Canada who had the biggest viral video literally on the planet Earth should probably win that award. And then we won, and I didn't know. As soon as that happened, I wanted to understand why. I wanted to understand how we would have able to squeak that out. And then when you dive into the details of how that comes to happen, you understand why it's set up like it is and why certain bands win and other bands don't. A great example is Dirty Nil wasn't even nominated for a rock album. And then you've got a band like Arkells that is, which Arkells aren't even really a rock band. And, the Dirty Nil put out one of the best rock records of last year, and they're not even mentioned. So it's hard to take any kind of award show seriously when you've got kind of oversights like that happening.
Yeah, well, and it's unfortunate too with Walk Off the Earth, being that Mike Beard Guy Taylor just recently passed away.
Yeah, well, we were part of the benefit concert that Walk Off the Earth put on in Burlington shortly after that, and it was kind of one of those really great moments in the music industry where you get to see friends and celebrate someone who had a huge impact on the community and the music scene overall, not just in Southern Ontario, and not just even in Canada, but really kind of a worldwide impact when you consider the size of a band like Walk Off the Earth. And so it was a very inspiring kind of afternoon, and it was hopefully cathartic for everybody who was feeling pain from it. Which included, even members of our band who'd come to know him. It wasn't a guy that I was close with, but I know that everyone that was, really, thought of him highly. So it was a great day.
For sure. You mentioned High on Fire being one of the good guys. I mean, is Greta Van Fleet in that same category? They're kind of a bit of a polarizing band these days.
Yeah, I don't have the hate on for them like some people do. My only real criticism of them is I wish they would just admit it. Whenever they're confronted in an interview about the nature of their band sounding so much like Led Zeppelin, they always shy away from the answer and kind of like, well, we were influenced just as much by The Who, and, they kind of dodge it. And I always just think that's such a fucking stupid way to handle it. I think I'd have a lot more respect for an answer like, yeah, like, have you heard our record? Like, of course we love Led Zeppelin. Like, of course we're inspired by Led Zeppelin. If they would just say that, I give them a full pass on the whole thing, and some people really hate it when a band sounds like another band, especially when you consider a legendary band like Zeppelin. That's not really a bad thing. I think if you would have sat down before Greta Van Fleet came out, you'd have people sitting around a table going, "Oh, there's nothing that sounds like Zeppelin anymore." It's like, well, here you go. They sound exactly like Zeppelin, and it's great. They're great live. They're great players. They're great songs. I just wish they would admit it. That's all.
That's fair. Now, you guys on this tour, getting back to that, I mean, you've got opening bands. Although I'm not sure I saw that information as to who you're taking out with you. Anywhere.
That's a band called The Picture Books from Germany. Right. They're a band that we've had touring with us before when we did a headline tour in Europe. And they're a two-piece band, and they're fantastic.
That's awesome. So apart from this tour, then I think you've got something going on again in Europe a little later in the year?
Yeah, we're doing a headline tour in April and May. And we're doing that with our friends in Royal Tusk, who's a new Canadian rock band who's really awesome. It's kind of like the remnants of 10 Second Epic from Edmonton. And the kind of guys that you've known, or at least I've known, like just about my entire Canadian touring life, and it's exciting to bring them over to Europe for the first time, and they're having a lot of success at radio as well, and great band.
Yeah, for sure. Tara Lightfoot was just here in Prince Albert a few weeks ago. I remember we had a bit of a conversation about you guys because, you guys obviously being from the same town, have had interactions and dealings with her from time to time.
Yeah, she's a great friend of ours. And I had a lot of conversations with her before she, kind of had the success that she's had. And, it was interesting to watch her kind of go through the motions of like finding her voice and finding her sound and her songs and kind of the direction that she wanted to take. And it was always kind of one of those things where you have the feeling that, the potential is there for her to have success.
Yeah.
But it's really, sometimes it takes a long time to kind of, focusing your energy to what it is that you really should be doing with yourself. And just like me, it took me like 10 to 15 years, and I think it took her less time than that, and she's got a lot more talent than I do. So it was really a kind of a eureka moment to watch her like put that first record out and have it take off and have it be on the road and having the success and the opening slot. It's similar to the way a lot of people felt about us when we had our thing. It's always nice to see people work hard and have success like that.
Yeah, and she certainly does work very hard, and again, she's a genuinely nice person, very down to earth. So it's great to see, as you are. I mean, Jeremy, I really appreciate your opinion and your honesty here today, man. Much respect for what you guys are doing, as always.
Oh, thanks very much, man. It's a really fun to be a band from Canada, and it kind of it works worldwide because Canadians and Canadian music industry from the band point of view has always got a lot of respect across the globe. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
Yeah. And now, are you guys? I know that True Rockers just released in September, but are you the type of band that's consistently and constantly writing songs?
Of course, yeah. I think it's one of the things that it helps you from falling into that zone that people call writer's block when you just write all the time. Not everything you write is going to be usable or worth, remembering. But if you stay busy with it and you're constantly kind of jotting down little memos into your phone of riffs and song ideas, it's easy to come back to doing another record when you've got 100 new riffs to choose from. And we're always doing that and looking forward to getting back at it maybe later in the year and starting demoing again.
Wow, wow. I mean, I guess in this day and age, though, you have to have a pretty quick turnover.
Yeah, we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to execute on that plan. We know that. We agree with that sentiment, but we haven't actually been able to do that. We've always gotten in our own way a little bit, where it's either overanalyzing the songs that we have recorded, taking too long to get into the studio, taking too long in the studio. It's always been problematic for us, and I think it's our number one stumbling block, and something that we have to rectify to really get the momentum that we need to get to the next level. And we're surely going to concentrate on that by combining the touring with the writing and the demoing, and hopefully having another record ready to go by sometime next year.
Well, that's great. Jeremy, I've been a big fan of your guys ever since we first chatted way back in 2012, and of course I'll continue to support you guys. In the meantime, you are in Saskatoon at Louis next Sunday, February 17th. So hopefully, if the planets align, I'll manage to get out to Saskatoon at the same time.
Awesome, man. That'd be great. I'd love to see you.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight, eh?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the support. And we'll hopefully see you soon.
Right on. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.